Okay.
You can do the TVs, but if you want to get started with like,
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, can everybody hear me? Yeah? Okay, first off, I want to say thank you for an incredible first week last week. I'm glad everyone was able to come out. I'm glad that people came out for the field trip we had on Friday. I know it was raining, but actually going on from that, we have another reservation for this upcoming Friday to go to the Coastal Reserve. So if you didn't get a chance to go last week and would like to go to the Coastal Reserve, please just send me an email or send your TA an email to let us know about your interest, and then we can have another group go to the Coastal Reserve this Friday, same time at 10 a.m. So that was the big thing I wanted to talk about. And also tonight, your first reading discussion post is due. So just follow the instructions on the post, and you should be good. Yeah, so those are just the main things I want to say. We're still setting up over here, and yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Rabanzo Flores, and I'm a friend of Professor Joy, a new friend of Professor Joy. She's been taking my class for the past few months, and we would engage in just really interesting conversations post-class about all the amazing things that she does. She's such an incredible woman, and I'm a dancer, choreographer, educator, and finding these bridges across our worlds and our conversations have been so interesting. And she's like, I would love for you to come and speak to my class. And so I was like, how am I going to come and speak to your environmental studies class? Like, I feel like I'm in such a different realm, such a different world. But I recently was commissioned to do a work, and I was inspired by the idea of the wild woman archetype. And so I was like, you know what, I think I can discuss the work that I've recently created and find a bridge with your environmental studies class. So that's kind of where that connection is and why I'm here today. A little bit about myself so you know who this person is speaking to for the next 50 minutes. I'm a San Diego native, lifelong dancer. I studied at UC Irvine sociology and dance. For 7 years, I moved to New York in 2013. I was there for 7 years and heavily just honed in on my craft as a teacher, as an educator in the fitness space. And I saw a lot of issues with the fitness space being really kind of toxic, and I wanted to carve my own path in that industry, knowing that I had this lifelong experience as an artist, as a dancer, and still was so inspired by movement, but really not wanting to subscribe to diet culture and aesthetic-driven reasons to get us to move our bodies. And so in 2019, I started working for myself under the name Untitled Movement, and I wanted to allow myself to kind of do whatever I wanted to do with that even though dance was still such a huge foundation of the work that I was doing, I really wanted to have some like pliability and flexibility with how I could work with different bodies at all ages, all different levels and connections to movement, reasons why they wanted to move, so maybe it wasn't going to be just dance. And I felt like with the idea of Untitled, it allowed for that flexibility, and also kind of has this this notion of who are we when we strip down our titles? Who are we when we take away these layers of identity that we carry with us in society? And who are we just as a body that is meant to move, that ought to move, and ought to find joy in movement? So creating this inclusive space that could not just feel like I'm going to just work with this category of people that I often felt that I saw when I was in New York, that was catered to when it came to fitness spaces. But like, we're all bodies, we're all meant to move. Let's all find joy in that. So Untitled Movement and the dance variation, that's where Professor Joy steps in, and that's where we have found friendship in these past few months, and that's why I'm here today. So today, I want to discuss the development and creation of my recent work entitled She Is What She Is and She Is Whole. It's a contemporary modern dance piece exploring my take on the wild woman archetype. So in this time that we have together today, I invite us to think about how dance, movement, and connection to the body can invite us to see ourselves as a part of nature and not separate from it. Can we observe and explore the landscapes of our body, both internal and external? Can movement inspire us to dig and uncover the layers of who we are, what we hold, revealing our own inner wilderness? So as I was kind of writing up the notes of what I wanted to present to you today, coming up with these ideas of wilderness in the body and nature in the body and what that can mean. And I did this like really just kind of like quick Google search, and I just typed in like wilderness in the body. Has anybody wrote about it? Could there be something that I could pick out that I can use as kind of inspiration? And so I stumbled across this website. Carl Rapke and his wife, they're facilitators of the Feldenkrais method and structural integration. They seem to work with individuals one-on-one, but also in group settings. And so he included this quote. So it's a passage from Reggie Ray's book, Touching Enlightenment, on the wilderness of our embodiment. So if we think of embodiment, we can think of an embodiment practice as a method using the unique sensations of our body as a tool to develop awareness, stay present, self-regulate, feel whole, find balance, feel connected. And so those are all concepts that I like to bring into the work that I do with my clients and with my classes. I want our movement to feel embodied, that we're not just kind of coming in and following the instruction and doing what I tell you to do, but are we truly embodied in how we are moving our body? Are we aware of the sensations that we feel, and are we using it for ways to create connections with our mind and being able to help regulate our nervous system? Are we able to use movement as a therapeutic way to express ourselves and to kind of release our emotions as well too? So the quote from Reggie Ray is, "But there is a new wilderness, a new trackless waste, a new unknown limitless territory, I do believe, that has not been and cannot be colonized and domesticated by human ambition and greed, that in its true extent cannot be mapped by human logic at all. This is the forest of the human body." And I was like, I love it. I love it. I just thought it was so beautiful. And so Carl, kind of commented on it, and he said, "The body is now, I believe, our forest, our jungle, the outlandish expanse in which we are invited to let go of everything we think, allow ourselves to be stripped down to our most irreducible person, to die in every experiential sense possible, and see what, if anything, remains." And this idea of stripping down to our most irreducible person, it brings me back to this Untitled movement idea and the intention behind Untitled movement. It's like, who am I just as a body? I can take away myself maybe as a woman. I can take away myself as a Latina. I can take away myself as second generation American. All these titles that I want to maybe walk through the world as, and just say, who am I as a body that is what was made to move? And what am I going to experience as a moving, living thing, right? And so these ideas that these two gentlemen that I stumbled upon so quickly, I was just like, I loved that perspective and being able to tie it back into, again, this talk today with you all. So the piece that I mentioned, She Is What She Is and She Is Whole, it was commissioned by Malashock Dance back early last year. And so I'm a company dancer at Malashock, and I was new to the company, and John Malashock was the then, he's the founder director. At that point, he was artistic director. We now have a new artistic director, Christopher K. Morgan, but he was the artistic director at the time. And so he reached out saying, I want you to choreograph a piece that we're going to be performing at the ENVZN Festival in September 1st. I think it was the beginning of September, in Barrio Logan, and it was an urban takeover. So they shut down certain buildings on like a strip of a block, and it was all transformed into art. And so there was dance, there was theater, there was live music, there was visual art, there was culinary arts, and it was this one-day festival of all these arts coming together in this kind of urban landscape. And so he said, you'd be creating this piece inside of a t-shirt factory. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to do in a t-shirt factory? And knowing that it's not going to be this traditional audience setup where we're performing and audience is watching here, that we're going to be kind of being watched on 3 or 4 sides. So I'm only given these parameters, and that I'm going to collaborate with my husband. My husband is a guitar player and composer, and it was going to be live music. So I had those things set up in my mind. Okay, it's going to be live music in a t-shirt factory. I got to be conscious of my dancers, and they're going to be dancing on cement. What am I going to do? The first thing that came into my head was the idea of wild women. I didn't want anything pretty. I was like, there's no way I'm going to go inside a t-shirt factory and create a work that's going to be like elegant and pretty. It needed to be all I could think of was wild, and I knew I wanted an all women's cast. So it's like, what does this mean? Like, what do I want to tap into with this? What do I want to dive into and research and explore? And I remembered I had this book on my shelf called Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. Has anybody ever heard of it? It was 1992. It's from the 90s. Yeah. So I was like, it's a thick book. And there's a lot of folklore and cultural stories about women and the wild women nature and the archetype and relating it to wolves. And so I was like, this is where I'm going to start my piece of inspiration. And so I picked up the book and I started kind of reading through it and figuring out, okay, what can I pick from the book that's going to help me create movement and generate, this piece? And so I'm going to share with you some kind of concepts that came from the book that helped me develop the movement. So this idea that healthy wolves and healthy women share similar characteristics. Keen sensing, playful spirit, they're relational by nature, they're possessed of great endurance and strength, deeply intuitive, brave, loyal, intensely concerned with their pack, experienced in adapting to constantly changing circumstances. So I was like, okay, this can get me somewhere. And then this idea of the wild woman. And not wild meaning out of control, which is this kind of modern pejorative sense of what we think wild is. And it's like uncivilized, it's savage, it's like, it's not what we want to be, right? But if we look at wild meaning live a natural life with innate integrity and healthy boundaries, then I think we can look at wild as something that we ought to embody and we ought to tap into. And so these ideas that Clarissa was integrating is that really just like hit me to my core. If we are not, and I want to also preface this that yes, I'm looking at this through the lens of I'm a woman and I'm reading this book, I'm reading excerpts of this book, Women Who Run with the Wolves. But today I want us to try on that even if I'm saying woman, if that's not something you identify with, fill it in with the blank that identifies how you identify. That this nature is not necessarily just particular to women, but that I believe, and this could be a whole other conversation, but I believe that all of us hold the feminine and the masculine within us. And we all kind of can vacillate between those two. So I think we all can try on the feminine, and we can all try on the masculine. And sometimes we can let it go and be untitled and not be any of it, right? So as much as I might kind of speak in these terms of the wild woman nature, if it doesn't relate to you, find a way to relate to it for yourself and see how that you can tap into that. If we are not connected to the wild woman or we've lost her, once we find her, we fight to keep her. Creative lives blossom. Cycles of sexuality, creativity, work, and play are reestablished. They know instinctively when things must die and when things must live. They know how to walk away. They know how to stay. So these ideas of just confidence and assurance and intuition and gut feelings and just like genuine love for oneself. So the wild woman can be this powerful psychological nature, this instinctive nature, this wise knowing nature. And to join instinctual nature means to establish territory, to find one's pack, to be in one's body with certainty and pride, regardless of gifts and limitations, to speak and act in one's belief, to be aware and alert, to draw on intuition and sensing, to retain consciousness, and to find what one belongs to. So I was really just struck by these ideas and these concepts and wanting to tap into that and relate to how that meant to me, and also to bring it to my cast of women and say, what does this mean to you too? Let's talk about it. So it was very important for me in the creative process to sit in dialogue and to get ideas from them too, because they might not feel the same way as me, or they might think about it differently than I do. And it's important that it was a creative process and collaborative process rather. So with these ideas, I picked 4 pillars that I wanted to develop my piece from. So this idea of intuition and instincts, sensuality in the body, the wolf pack idea, and playfulness and creative fire. So the piece was built off of those pillars in discussion with my dancers and also in the creation of gestures and of movement. And then I worked with my husband on creating the music. So I gave him some pegs as to like certain songs that I liked, that I was like, I kind of want this kind of vibe. So there was this song by Funkadelic, Maggot Brain. It's this like 10 plus, do you know what I'm talking about? Sexy song. Like this guitar solo is just like, oh, like it just like gets you in your gut. And I was like, this, can you give me Maggot Brain? Can you give me, give me your version of what Maggot Brain is for you? And let that be the foundation for the solo that I created on myself. And then I worked with 4 women for their quartet. And that's how the music kind of grew from there. I was like also like thinking of Carlos Santana. I wanted some like that kind of guitar vibes as well too. Something that can build. Later on, I don't remember my husband telling me this, but he was also inspired by Bad Guy by Billie Eilish, like that dun, 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 that driving rhythm. So it was all this kind of pieces of inspiration that were coming out, and I think she's a badass too. So it was like this beautiful coming together of ideas to create this piece. And I was hoping to be able to share this piece on video. So if it doesn't work out, I feel like we're small enough that we could huddle, maybe. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Maybe this will be the cue that we can figure out either the TV or the projector. Yeah?
Yes.
Awesome. Hi. Is there any possible way we can get this projector or... While we do that, can we talk? Can you tell me what, I just rattled off so much stuff. And I'm super interested to hear what's resonating or what questions are coming up for you as we're talking about this idea of movement and dance and the body and the wilderness that can exist within us, or how we can try on these concepts of wild nature and what's maybe looming in your thoughts right now. Yes?
Well, I was blown away by your speech. So many different things I really, really resonated with. But one thing which was interesting to me was your idea about the like layers of identity. And it's interesting to me to kind of think about identity like an onion.
Yes.
And if you sometimes can peel it away, you know.
Yes.
Is it an apple or an onion? Is there something in the middle, or is there nothing in the middle?
Totally.
I was wondering what your idea of this was.
Oh my God. I mean, I guess it depends on the day. It can depend on the day, right? I feel like we as humans are so expansive, and there's so many ways to look at our existence, and I love that idea of the onion and it peeling away, but then the idea of an apple and that there's still a core at the end of it. Can we be an apple with an onion on the outside? Like a merging of the two? Like the apple is our core, but we are enveloped by an onion, many layers.
What is the apple then?
What is it for you?
I think we're an onion.
You think we're so
that's just my opinion.
So then what are we left with?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It's just what we are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I guess there's a lot of things that could inform what we think of, what we could think of, right? One's propensity or inclination towards religiosity could influence that. Any sort of faith-based systems could probably influence whether we see ourselves as an onion or as an apple. I don't think one is right and one is wrong. I think it's just what we are inspired to experience in this life. And maybe at one point in time we thought we were an apple at one point, and then maybe at some point we thought we're an onion, right? So I think there's limitless possibilities, and that's movement. We can move within the thoughts and how our thoughts change and our beliefs change, as much as we can move our bodies as well too. Interesting things to think about. I like that. Anybody else? Don't be shy. I want us to just have a conversation and have this exchange and be open to questioning me too, and not necessarily agreeing with me, but if there's something that you're coming up with or feeling inside of you, please share. Yes?
So when you were making this piece, were there any blockages that you had a specific story you wanted to portray? Were there any blockages when creating the choreography?
I think that any creator will always confront that at some point, where you'll be in a rhythm where creativity flows and inspiration flows, and then you hit a block. And typically what happens for me, it's go for the pieces. So even if I know this piece is going to be 5 minutes long, I may know how it's going to start, and I may know how I want maybe the third section to be, and I don't know what the second and the fourth yet, and those are could be considered blocks. Let me put the one and the third out there, and just put it out there and leave the holes where they are. And maybe I need my dancers to fill in a hole. And for this particular piece, I definitely needed them to fill in one of the holes that I couldn't fill in by myself, because it was the wolf pack section. There was no way I could do that by myself. I really wanted that. There was a imagery from the book that really resonated, where one of the stories was about how, like, when wolves play with each other, they kind of like, their bodies bounce off of each other. And I love that idea, and I wanted to create this idea of like sharing weight and kind of like having these playful moments of exchanging weight and kind of bouncing off of each other. And I needed them in space in the studio to create that, because oftentimes I can go in by myself and generate movement by myself and kind of idea, okay, this person's going to do this, or these two might do this. But if I don't have all four of them in the space to try something out, I won't be able to break through that block until we're in that moment. So yeah, definitely those things came up, but then they were in there to be collaborative and to support me in that. Yeah. Are we in?
I think we're good.
What are you seeing here?
I think on yours, does it say, is there a button?
Uh-oh. Not getting any. I'm losing the cursor.
Let's go this way with it.
Okay.
Now go to that.
Here?
Yeah.
System preferences?
And now, kind of go to arrangement.
Okay.
Go to this place.
This?
Just
Oh,
that
this.
there.
Okay. Oh.
And now,
We're
just
looking
go
at-
to full screen on this one.
Okay.
I'm so excited to see this.
Ah. Okay, so let's check and see if volume is going to work too. I don't know if volume's connected. Sound. Maybe I need to go to sound on system preferences.
Wait, did you already try and play it?
Yeah, and it was coming out of my computer.
Oh, okay, yeah. Just go to sound and then change it to crest drum.
Let's see. Sound. Input, output?
Output.
Output is just showing MacBook Pro speakers.
There's no other options.
Mm-mm. We were so close.
Oh, I think you know this.
Yay.
Is your sound up? Is it playing? Is it playing? Nothing's playing? No video?
No, it's really good.
Oh, you know why that happened?
Oh, okay.
Still nothing? What display?
We were in at this, it's now disconnection.
Wait,
Did it
Did it
show
flash?
anything?
the screen's blue for a second.
No! We were so close.
No?
We get him back. Where did he go?
Still nothing?
Not on the projector, it's just blue screen.
It's blue?
Should we get the guy back?
Damn, that sucks. Yeah,
Well, we still got 20 minutes, so we can do something else while we wait.
Alright, yeah, I'll call.
Okay, let's call him back. Anything, I really wanted you to see this before we did this next thing, but we can always go backwards. Any other thoughts, Lumine, about anything that we've talked about so far before we go on to the next kind of activity? Anything? So I wanted us to get out of our chairs and to like not be in our head for the next however many minutes we're together. So I want us to be able to try and creating our own gesture. So a lot of what ends up being explored in contemporary dance is, and modern dance too, but I'm kind of fusing contemporary and modern together, is gesture making. So I created a series of gesture in my solo that once we watch the video, you'll be able to see. And then I invited my dancers to also create their own gestures. So that way it was coming from them, and it was all based off of their ideas of how they're relating to the idea of being a wild woman, whatever that essence means, whether it's ideas of intuition or creativity, sensuality, playfulness, I want strength, whatever concepts that we were sharing in the inspiration from the book and dialogue that we had with each other to develop their own gestures. So, do we know what a gesture is? Show me what a gesture is. Anything else? What's I'm like, I don't know what that one is, but that's gotta be something. There you go. Thumbs up, thumbs down, peace, like here. Social movements have used gestures. What else? This is a gesture, right? What else? Rock on, yeah, I love you. And I'm sure there's gestures that are gonna mean something different from country to country, from culture to culture, right? So what might feel like polite in one country might not be polite in another country, right? So those are kind of gestures on its baseline. But for me, in the development of my solo, I started my gesture from here, right? What I felt like was the essence of my womanhood, and that it bled up into, or maybe not bled, but it reached up here, and I placed my arm over my head, and for me, this felt like something sculptural, maybe something beautiful, and I used that other hand to open up this hand, and this hand's open, and then I'm gazing out and sharing what's in my hand. And I'm taking what's in my hand and I'm touching myself, so I'm feeling the sensations of my body as I open my other arm and I wipe across my arm and I wipe across my chest. And then I take my pinky and I bring it down to the center, back to my essence. So that was just my exploration of what could I create that could mean something for me. And once we get this going, you'll see what the other dances created as well and how it turned into bigger movement. So what I would like us to do is just to partner up. Just grab somebody nearby, and you're gonna work with your partner, just as somebody to be kind of your soundboard, and talk about some of these concepts. And I want you to create your own gesture on what it means for you to either discover the wilderness in your body, the connection of nature in your body. It doesn't have to be as long as mine. I gave you a whole long situation, right? It could be, if you wanted it to be. But I invite your gesture to be one motion, but that it can transform into something else. So it's not just a this, or it's not just a this, but it can be this into this, right? It can have two moments or an action that settles into itself. Any questions on that activity? But I want us to close our laptops. Our laptops don't need to be open. You're probably doing homework from other classes. And that's cool, but I'm also only here for one time, and Professor Joy thought it would be interesting for me to come and share. So let's give some respect and attention to the opportunity that we have to do something different in an environmental studies class, to dance, right? So it may not feel like you're dancing, because maybe you're not going to be moving your hips or stomping your feet, but there's so much dance that can exist in gesture. And I think that can be a gateway for us to get us excited about moving our bodies. Yeah? Any questions again on like where this is coming from? I feel like I've laid out a big landscape, a big wilderness landscape of what you can pull from. But I want you to have a partner so you can talk about it for a moment, get out of yourself, talk about it, and then maybe I'll give you, once you establish your partnership, I'll say, okay, now just maybe forget about your partner for a second and get inside of your body and think about what you can create. And then you'll go back to your partner and share what you did with your partner, and then we'll take it from there. So for the next 3 minutes, find a partner and discuss with your partner. Someone that's right next to you, make it easy. Or maybe somebody might have to move if you're not sitting next to somebody. everybody have a partner? We're all partnered up? And feel free to get out of your chairs, to get up out of your seat. If you want to find like a pocket of space, like there's all this space up here, you don't need to be bothered by your table. And also too, you can, I'm seeing it happen, but you can create a gesture with your partner. That could be your wolf pack. You don't need to do it by yourself. If you feel inspired to do it in partnership, I love that too. So right now we're just brainstorming. It disconnected. And then we were trying to connect sound, and then sound wasn't an option. We also just added this board too, to make sure that it's just going to be the sound board to get the sound.
No, it should come from there.
It should all come from there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I always see.
And now start trying on these gestures. Start building what your gesture could be like. Or if you want to create it in partnership with your partner, I invite you again to stand up. You don't have to sit down and do it. Get your body, get the blood flowing, the circulation going.
Something like this.
Oh, no worries, no worries. It's okay. I mean, I would like it. At least to start to see some movement happening.
So it was this thing. I'll have them replace it.
Okay, it's happening.
Yeah, if you go to your sound settings, you should come out of the first. He's very in touch with his
Okay, yeah, let's watch, and we're going to come back to our gesture development after you get some ideas.
Yeah,
maybe.
so for right now, please sit next to your partner. Please sit next to your
I
partner.
appreciate it. Leave that there?
inside here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So this performance was actually from March 23rd at the San Diego Museum of Art. So initially this piece was commissioned for the ENVZN Festival back in August, September of last year through Vanguard Culture. We did it again for Everyday Dances, which is Malashock's winter show. So we did it in January, and that was when I had to change it from audience being on 3 sides to then audience being on 1 side, pretty standard. And then got to actually have like actual costumes for that piece as well too. And then we did it again for this collaboration that we did with the museum. There was some work that we did by, I'm going to give you the name. I want to correct with this. Arshile Gorky's Child's Companion. So our directors from Malashock, John Malashock and Christopher K. Morgan, each created work based off of this painting, a child's companion. And so we added some repertory work to this program, and we did my piece again. So you'll hear my husband, he'll be over here with the live guitar, and the piece starts with me in a solo, it moves into a quartet. And so hopefully I'd like for you to kind of see, I gave you so much background about this piece, which I typically don't like to do with like general audiences. I don't like to tell people what I think they should see. I want to just say, here's a title, let it be your own interpretation. But for purposes of today, I felt like giving that background was valuable. So I hope that you can kind of look at it from that lens. Thank you so much, that's perfect. Of all that background and seeing how you can see what's going on here. Can I turn off the, do I just, What do I do to take this off? Display?
Are you gonna use your computer for that?
No, I'm done.
Just unplug it then.
Just unplug it?
Yep.
Amazing. We have 5 minutes left. Any questions, comments? What did you see? What do you have thoughts about? Yes.
I thought it was really cool how, like, you were all kind of doing your own thing, but also not. Like, there were a lot of shared movements, and then a lot of individual stuff. You guys were wearing, like, the same sort of color schemes, but not. Like, yeah, it was very human in that way.
I love that. Very human. Exactly. Spot on. Yes.
I like how even though the choreography was like the same at some points, it wasn't uniform. Like you could see like everyone's style come through when they performed each, I guess, like choreography. Like it wasn't like cookie cutter and everyone looked exactly the same, which I guess feeds into like the story you're trying to portray to.
Yes. No, it was everybody had a solo moment at some point. I really wanted to give everybody to have an opportunity to kind of shine and highlight them. And then when the piece started, they developed their own gestures. So that was all from the dancers. And then the whole partnering section was built with them. So that way they could try on how those movements felt. But yes, it was a very intentional, like how can each woman come through as her own, but be very clearly in a pack. And know that there's one kind of heartbeat amongst them all, but they each have their own heartbeat as well too. Yeah. Anything else? Those are beautiful commentary. Thank you for sharing. And with that, I want us to go back to our partner and refine the things that you maybe came up with, or maybe you have new inspiration. But not everybody has to share, but I'll give you a couple minutes to get back to your partner, and with the last few minutes that we have, if anybody feels inspired to share, maybe talk about where your inspiration came from and how you created your gesture, we'll spend the last few minutes doing that. So 1 more minute just to get with your partner really quick and see what you did before and see if you still feel good about it. Let it be intuitive. Let your wild self come through. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be silly. It can be playful. It doesn't, we're not having to take this seriously. Okay, let's share. Let's share. Who feels inspired to share? I feel like we have to share what's happening up here.
We're fine-tuning.
You're fine-tuning still. I might just call on folks if no one volunteers. Do the two of you want to share? Okay, tell us your name and share. Let's listen.
Okay, so my name is Gracie. Something that I thought of was like doing yoga really graphic and stuff, and one of the movements is like opening yourself up, but taking in the world and bringing it back to yourself.
Love it. Let's all do that together. Everybody stand up. Stand up. Guide us through it, Gracie.
Okay. So it's like a big stretch, like reaching out, taking in the world, and then bringing it back to yourself.
Beautiful. Thank you. Anyone else?
So my family, we learn to love. You are my country. We learn to love. And from that love, we grow, and we give back to them. But it comes to a point where you can't just keep on giving, you have to yank it back.
Okay, guide us through that. Love it.
Okay, so like the love, the growth, the giving, and the yank.
Yes. I love it. More. Who's next? Be brave. Be your wild self. You want to share? I'm looking at you. You see San Diego sweatshirt. No? Anybody else? Come on, somebody else. Anybody? You want to share? No? Anybody? You want to share? What do you have cooking over here?
Okay, I can share.
Okay.
All right, I feel like I like the idea of growing. I feel like I'm growing right now, but I feel like everyone is growing in some way or another. Maybe some people are shrinking, but hopefully everyone's growing. But so I like the metaphor of a tree. So I thought of starting as like a sapling or something, like a small seed, and then growing roots, and like kind of like growing out of the ground, and then like kind of like trying to find my way towards the sun, and like getting towards my final form.
Nice. What if can you translate that to just upper body? So if we did that standing, guide us through what your arms did, and we'll follow you with your arms.
Imagine that the sun's always moving and the plant is always trying to grow towards the sun, and so it's kind of like a imagine trying to find your way towards something which is above you.
So how should we start with our arms?
If you start standing.
If we start standing.
Just start like as
Okay,
curled
so we're
up
gonna
as
try it
small
on.
as possible. And then it starts with the roots in the ground, and then they start going upwards to try and find the sun, and they can just kind of meander towards the sun.
Beautiful, beautiful. One more, last one. One more brave soul, Again, that could be one quick gesture.
Ashima has a cool one.
Ashima, come on. Show us, Ashima. Show us and then walk us through it.
Okay, I did this, and then this.
Okay, walk us through, let's do it.